we'll have this discussion.
Discussion? What discussion?
This is a discussion combustion.
Coming to you from Denver, Colorado. This is Discussion Combustion Podcast with your hosts, Kevin Batstone and Arthur Raw.
Heated floors in a basement, you know, so it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. It can be a huge headache.
I mean, is anything fun if you don't have a headache at some point during the experience?
Yeah.
You have to know the rough times to be able to appreciate the good times.
True.
Right?
Oh yeah, couldn't be better said.
Yeah,
Truly.
I mean that's kind of who was I listening to the other day? But basically, they said you can't ever experience joy until you've really experienced some hardship in your life.
Yeah, kind of
True.
that you got to fail to
But-
succeed piece a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Go through the hard times and see what's going on before you figure out. Okay,
Yeah.
I got to adjust on this now. Run another play.
Yeah.
Make some adjustments for sure. But you guys are in a cool industry for sure. And shout out to Delroy who hit us up on our Google page and said, hey, well, I got some guys that should come on your show.
Yeah.
And Reed Custom Homes.
Yep.
Right. We got Rich and Anna joining us here. DCPC 189 tonight. Thanks for coming down and spending some time
First
with
guest of 2023.
us. Yeah, kicking
Wow.
off. You're right.
Hey,
That is
that's
special.
We
Cheers
were
to that.
saying, cheers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're saying we should have hit up number 200, but first
Awesome.
guest of 2023 might
I mean,
be.
that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
kicking
Have to
off the
drink
year
it.
right.
That's right.
Ride that success energy. You guys have some cool stories. It's fun. We just, met you a few minutes ago before we hopped on mic. Classic, deal where we're taking the elevator down, you're taking it up. We missed each other,
Yep.
but it doesn't matter. We're here now.
Should have had that on camera.
I know, right?
A little bit of the.
But my
like a movie.
my intuition did tell me, because Kevin went down before me, and then right as I was getting on my elevator, I could hear one coming up, and I was like, "Oh, Kevin got the guest right now."
Oh yeah.
And then so I was down there by myself, small talking with somebody in the lobby, and then Kevin comes out of the bathroom, like, I guess the guests aren't here. I was like, I thought these people would be like early though, like just based upon you kind of feel that. And lo and behold, you were standing, and then so I'm double checking the business name, trying to do some research, and you're like, yo, we're here in the hallway, and I'm like, well, you gotta go.
Which is funny. We did the same thing because we're standing in the hallway, and I'm like, I wonder if they're waiting in the lobby,
Yeah.
like for us.
You were right.
And
Yes.
I think it drives Anna crazy, but I have this whole thing like if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late.
Yes.
And I think that comes from the military.
Yes.
And in fact, sometimes I think I'll get into even a full panic mode. Like if we're running late, or if
That's not
I
an
feel like
understatement.
the potential is that we can be late, it's
Yeah.
not a good
So
thing.
we did the rat maze.
Yes.
Outside the studio here, like counting the numbers, which way did they go?
I know, and they don't make any
No,
sense.
they
They
don't.
don't.
So I always tip my hat to the folks that find it on their own. That's usually why we go grab from
It's an
the lobby.
IQ test.
Yeah, a little
Are we
bit.
actually going to let them on the show or not?
It's actually it's less than 50% of people find it by themselves. So if you're a future guest on Discussion Combustion and you really want to impress us, no, I'm messing around. But no, it's so good to have you two in. And you've both been through a lot as far as having, all these kids together, starting a business, working in Aurora Fire Department, and also it was SWAT.
I was the dedicated medic for the Aurora SWAT team.
Dedicated medic, yeah.
So,
Did you ever have any situations where you had to go in there and help them out?
fortunately, I was never in a situation where our officers were significantly hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for that. But the Aurora SWAT medic position started after the theater shooting, and I was one of the first medics on the fire side, during the Aurora theater, and then after that, because of like breakdown in communications and the potential of something happening to one of the good guys or even like innocent civilians that are in there, and being able to render immediate medical care, like kind of birthed like that whole SWAT medic position. So that's how it started. I was there, but fortunately, I never had to help my own people so much, but plenty of bad people.
Yeah.
As a result of whatever decision they made, for us to be there.
And so that position was kind of developed right around, what was that, June or July of 2012?
2012.
2012, yeah.
Yep.
Wow, that was
Gosh, time
Yeah,
flies.
over 10
really
years
does.
ago.
Yeah.
Over
I
10
have a
years ago.
vivid memory of that next morning.
I do too.
When he called me, because I hadn't turned on the news. I was home with we had 2 girls at that point, and they were playing in the backyard of our house, which had just a view of some fence lines where horses would come out and be let out. Some of them were out there, beautiful, 7 a.m., that warm morning, not too hot yet. And he called, and when he calls before he's off shift, it's always like, I'm not coming home yet type of thing. But his first words were, did you watch the news? So of course I didn't watch the news. You're at work. Like,
So you knew right
try
there.
not to do that.
Something's off.
Yeah, and it's like, what happened? And he told me the whole thing, and I just realized at that moment I was watching our girls play in the backyard, and I thought, oh my gosh, our lives is so idyllic at this moment, and they're just playing oblivious to this, and other people have had their lives thrashed last night. And just how grateful I was for first responders, honestly, and all that they do, because really and truly, they hold back. My sister actually wrote this once, to really hold back the veil of evil from the rest of us. We don't know. We can be at home. You know, that night, unfortunately, a lot of people knew, and they were impacted greatly. But every single day, what they do is put their life on the line in order to protect the rest of us and make it feel like we don't need them. And we so greatly do.
Yes.
And it's just like seared in my mind that morning of really, truly how important they all are to our lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, huge tip of the hat to all the men and women that and first responders. That was just an incredible deal, just piggybacking off that a little bit. I remember getting a call from my buddy in New Orleans that morning before I even learned the news. He's like, hey, man, I hope you weren't out watching Batman last night. I'm like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
And then I started doing some research, and I was like, wow, this is really happening. I lived 3 miles from the theater at that time. So, I literally remember hearing the sirens the night before, but not really thinking anything of it. So, terrible tragedy for Colorado, of course.
Yeah.
But, kind of going back to the story that you were telling, Rich, about how this position was developed. So from that day forward, how did all those moving parts kind of come together?
Well, I don't know if you recall, but there was a lot of attention in the media between the breakdown of communication between the police department and the fire department.
Yeah.
At that time, and the police were saying that they kept trying to call fire, and fire wasn't there. At that time, the fire department's policy was to not necessarily enter a dangerous situation until the scene was safe. In a situation like that, everybody has the same goal in mind, and that's to try to help as many people as possible. Being a firefighter, is inherently dangerous. And so, like for me, there's never a question of running into a dangerous situation, even if it's a shooting, to help as many people as possible. But the fire department showed up and was waiting for more order from the police department, and the police department kept trying to call on the radio to get fire department. And if you can imagine, radio communication, radios are typically like two-way communication, right? You push the button and one person can talk at a time. And in a situation like that, you have a lot of people who have something mission critical to say at exactly the same time. And so communication really broke down. And so after, when we do the debrief and try to figure out, what went well and what could be better, that was one of the big things that, was determined. How do we solve the communication issue? Well, having a firefighter embedded with the police and trained as a police officer was one way that, they thought about, solving that problem. And it was an absolute headache for me because I'd been on a lot of big incidents, not the size of the theater after that, but as a SWAT medic, where I'm literally holding a police radio, a fire radio. Wow. I hear what they're saying on the fire side. I'm trying to communicate it to the police side and vice versa. And even at that, it was very challenging, being embedded with the police. So, so that's pretty much how it developed. I wasn't the first generation of SWAT medic. I wanted to be. They put out a job description, for it, and I told Anna, I was like, I kind of want to put in for this.
Yeah.
And we had Lydia. Was it Lydia?
Caleb.
Caleb?
Yeah. I think Caleb was either I was pregnant with Caleb or
so kid number 3.
Third kid.
We have 4 kids.
Wow. Or he was just born, like fresh type of thing. I can't remember, but it was like, this is really not the time for you to step up into that role. Like, pretty much, please don't. So he didn't on that round.
So they
but
brought
the next time around, when the guys were coming back and they're bringing on a new one, it's like, really want to do it.
Yeah, I
And I'm
gotta
like,
do
all
this.
right, second time through, this is pretty much going to happen.
Well, you still
By
said,
then we had 4
you still
kids,
said you were
so,
uncomfortable with it, but at
Yeah.
that time maybe I just didn't care.
Yeah, right.
Like, I want to do this.
No,
It's for me, it just felt like it's a noble cause. It's something I wanted to do.
Sure.
Police and fire. We give each other crap all the time, but it's the same team.
Yeah.
And to me, there wasn't anything more important in my mind. I mean, obviously my family is very important, but being in a position where I could help our own police officers and be there for them and potential crisis.
When you have that calling in life, though, and I've noticed it's never at a convenient time, and you feel it in your soul, right? Like regardless of what it is, and you feel like this mega urge to go out and pursue something, and it's usually at a time that's difficult, and like you're getting challenged on top of a challenge, and that's like where success is born. I like to kind of say, like, if you're getting challenged in life, you should recognize that and tell yourself you're on the right path.
Yep.
Because when all the challenges are hitting the door at the same time, that's when you know that you're doing something right now. So, I mean, I serving in the military, fire department, SWAT medic, it's really an honor to have you in here, and you as well, being a support to that family. Obviously, you hold it all together, and so it's really an honor. And before we move on to Reed Custom Homes, I just wanted to say that big thanks to anybody out there that serves and protects in Denver and nationwide, and we need you. And if you're having a hard time today, like, we appreciate you. I feel like it's important to put that out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
And thanks for everything you did. And before we shift gears here, what do you think was like the biggest thing that stood out to you, or a moment, memory, or experience that took place in that role that was either like life-changing or just something that you were involved in? You were like, man, this was intense.
The members of the Aurora SWAT team are incredible. They're made up of, there's a guy at Navy SEALs, there's Special Forces people. The level of preparation, the mindset they have, it was an honor to work with them. You have that same mindset in the fire department. The specialty team there would be like technical rescue, type people. Where it's always just, for me, I love being around people who are absolutely the best at what they do, and there's a difference, to them. And I think, on the fire side, for a period of time, I felt like it was like kind of stagnant, almost boring. Not boring. I was in Aurora, so we went on 20 calls a day during a 24-hour shift. So we're very busy and we're seeing a lot of crazy stuff. But that, like you mentioned, this was a new challenge. I was looking for a challenge. But something that really sticks out, it's hard to pinpoint.
Yeah.
The Aurora SWAT team is, they're very busy. And we went on more than 300 what they call buy bust a year, where you're pinning vehicles, you're going after people, homicide, suspects, and just, I don't know how, every day, like, I'd be in a situation like, how did I get myself here?
Yeah.
This is intense.
So you're rolling with the SWAT team at this
Right.
point. Yeah.
I work with them full time.
Yeah.
In fact, for that period of time, I never really stepped foot on a fire engine. I was 100% with the police.
Wow.
I'd say there's a lot, though, of, even on the fire side, like, impactful moments of either people, like, the stories he came home and told me, right,
Yeah.
are the ones I would say still come up again. When children died, or the ones that really hit home of a family being impacted or saving a life. There's a lot of that too, where people are alive because, sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're good.
People are alive because of what he did. We even had a situation where in our current home building role, we build speculative homes and customer homes. And one of our spec homes, whenever we're finished with them, we do staging. And he came up, we had the furniture coming in. We own our staging furniture. So we have it moved from storage into the home. And these guys are doing this from the moving company. And he comes over to me, he's like, how do we know that guy? And I'm like, I do not know that guy. He's 20-something-ish.
So
very
one of the
respectful.
movers.
One of the
Yeah,
movers.
so one of the
Okay.
Yeah, very respectful guy. But I'm like, I am 100% positive I do not know this person. He's like,
So-
no, I know this person.
Yeah.
And so he walked over to him and said, I know you. And the guy's like, man, I don't know. And then he's like, no, I know you. So he kept thinking about it. And then he called me. And
Well, I told Anna, I was like, I know how I know this guy. And it's crazy how sometimes in life things come full circle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm outside of this firefighter and medic role, and so I see this guy. He has a big tattoo on his neck. His gang identification tattoo, and then
Easily identifiable.
easily identifiable, and another
again,
tattoo.
I don't know this guy.
Yeah.
Going up on the side of his neck, and to be fair, he was busting butt for us. He was working really hard. He was asking questions. He was running back and forth from the truck, and I'm like, so I went up to him. I was like, dude, I know you. And he's like, oh, a lot of us, well, he's a black guy. He's like, a lot of us look the same. I was like, no, that's not it. It has nothing to do with that. Mm-hmm. And so I talked to Anna. I was like, it'll come to me. And then I went back to him, and I told him, I was like, in Aurora, I named the intersection. I was like, you were shot. You were shot in your right chest, and you were shot in your flank. We took you to University Hospital, and I needle decompressed you. We were breathing for you. I wasn't sure if you were going to survive. And he looked at me, and his eyes just filled with tears, and he couldn't believe that. He was like, how did you know that? And
Probably didn't share that story too often.
No.
Yeah. He'd had obviously moved on
Yeah.
from that period of his life. Like he was working hard to not be a part of that. And you could tell it. He was talking about his kid to his coworkers, like just working really hard the whole time.
Well, it was cool because, we had that moment, and then gave each other a bro hug.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, look, my team, we were the paramedics that responded to you and took care of you and took you to the hospital, and I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're doing well. And he told me how that moment changed his life, how he decided to not be affiliated with this gang activity, to focus on his kid at the time, and to, try to do something more meaningful. And so then we staged that. He helped stage the home. And then afterwards, about a few weeks later, we called the company back. He came back, to pick the furniture up and take it to one of our storage shed locations. And I saw him again, and his eyes got kind of watery, and mine did too.
Yeah,
because it as a medic, like I would run into kids all the time who were. And at that time, he was like 16 or 17 years old when he was shot.
Yeah. How many years was it? Like 5 or?
No, like 3.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah, and I think about them and like, man, what got them to this point in their life? They're getting shot, they're getting stabbed, they're doing these things, and every now and then I would try to have a moment in the back of an ambulance. There's one kid I saw multiple times, stabbed a couple times, and drug overdoses, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? You're next time I see you, you're probably going to be dead. One of these days I'm going to pronounce you dead. And he's like, bro, you don't care, and sometimes like people would open up, and you can have that quick little 2-minute time to maybe influence some type of positive words, or maybe get somebody to change. But in this situation,
just fundamentally save their lives. Like he
but
said
in this
nothing
situation, it
to
was
this
very
guy.
meaningful to me because you don't always see the other side of it.
Right.
And here's a kid who was grateful and teary-eyed, and got to chat with one of his friends, and who was going through some stuff, and it really opened up some cool dialogue.
Wow.
Which was fun.
Incredible story. Thanks for sharing
was a
that
great
with us.
story.
I mean, that's
But-
goes to show you a small world, and you never know who you're going to bump into, and especially something like that. It's like, wow, I helped save your life in that situation. I can name the intersection. Like, that stuck with you. That's unreal, because you said you saw so much stuff out there, 20 events a day, in a 24-hour time period. It's amazing.
The meaningful stuff. I don't think I really answered your question. I mean, we would see so much crap every day. Like, it wasn't uncommon for us to be on a barricaded, person inside of a house, and sending robots in the house. Arapahoe County Bomb Squad would show up and blow holes inside of walls to get gun ports to potentially take somebody out if needed. But those all kind of blend together. But for me, the things that stick out the most are those more intimate, more personal stories. I can very vividly see one of our police officers, unrelated. We were going to a police response, but en route to a police response, we heard that there was a 1-year-old that was in cardiac arrest, from a choking type incident.
Oh.
And a police officer got there first. And when I showed up, he was doing compressions. You could see the emotion on his face. It was very intense. And then I grabbed the child. The ambulance showed up around the same time. We got in the back of the ambulance, and I hate to say this, but the ambulance people were very junior, and they were just almost vapor locked. They couldn't even think about what to do. So I asked the police officer to continue compressions, and then we started setting up airway and that type of thing. And fortunately, we got a pulse and a blood pressure back, on this 1-year-old. But it was a conversation I had with the police officer afterwards, because people think that, especially in Aurora, there's a lot of bad press these days. They're on them for everything.
Yeah.
But there are some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life are with the Aurora Police Department and the fire department.
Wow.
And I remember talking to this guy outside of Children's Hospital, and he was teary-eyed, and I was like, dude, this kid would have had zero chance of survival
If he wasn't there,
didn't intervene, if you didn't pick up and know exactly what to do right away. And to me, that's the thing that stuck out the most. It's the same as the military. It's like these people who deeply and passionately care about what they're doing every day for people they don't know, as well as for each other. Like now we're in this building business, and I feel like we have a great team of people that we have a great team that we have built up, but nothing compares to that camaraderie that you're going to find in the military or police and fire.
I mean, when it's on the line like that, and then you're also experiencing these traumatic situations, right? And you have your brothers through that, your brothers and sisters through that you're experiencing all that with. Like, it's difficult to, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I know that you can't go back and live a different life. So it's kind of a weird question. And this is for you too, Anna, do you feel like being witness to some of these things and you seeing them firsthand and, all that being shared, that your appreciation of your day-to-day life has grown because you realize how it could all just go away?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as I said earlier, that moment of just having such a, firsthand, he was there. Shooter was still there. He was in the second engine that came in, and they were waiting to be cleared to go in. Shooter had gone to his car. Could have been done right at that moment. And to know, first of all, our lives could have totally and completely changed in a second with his participation in that, but also how everybody else has had. And then just repeated, it happens all the time to people all the time. Mm-hmm. And just that knowledge does give a lot more appreciation. I did not grow up in a first responder military family at all. Like, my great-great-grandfather was in the Civil War, so far removed. That's not a life I'm familiar with at all until he was an entrepreneur when I met him, right? He had started a business. It was successful. That's who I met and who I married. He had already served his time in the military. And then this is me and that, and maybe I should back up.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good.
It's not something that I was really even aware of. And then a few years in to us being married, he said, I've really always wanted to be a firefighter. Mm-hmm. And I just feel...
And she was like, how much are you going to make?
No, not at all. It wasn't about the money. It was, no. I just know he's a passionate person, right?
Yeah.
Passionate from an entrepreneurship perspective. He will go after a company and grow it at an unbelievable rate because he cares so much when he has an idea or a passion for something. And so it's like, okay, that's what you're going to do. You're going to spend some time doing firefighting and wherever that leads for however long that lasts for him, because he is, again, a passionate person, loved fire, but there's always something churning in him. And so having that experience of being a wife and a mother and a family of someone, supporting someone in one of those fields, is a very unique and privileged position, honestly.
I don't mean to say it's like a burden, but it's definitely not an easy vow to make, right? Because the person that you love and care for is risking their life daily. Yeah. And you're at home trying not to think about that, right?
Being a single parent to four children.
So what kind of advice could you give to like a young wife of somebody that's deployed overseas to keep her mind in the right place? Like what kind of advice could you give for them?
Two things. One, don't stay isolated. So I think that life's so busy, especially with young kids, right, that it's really easy to just do what they need to do, but you're still in your head while you're doing what you need to do for them. So don't stay isolated. Get a community of people you can really depend on. And a lot of times that is other wives in that community or in your church or wherever that may be. But also my mom had breast cancer when I was really young, 5 years old. And my sister was 7 at the time. And there's some trauma that came out of that, especially for my sister. She was very anxious as a kid, wanting to make sure everything was okay. And my mom, she survived fine.
That's good.
But she would tell her as she grew up, because she'd, especially at nighttime, be pretty anxious. And so my mom would always tell her, look, we will be concerned when the boogeyman comes. When the boogeyman's here, I'm going to help you with what you need. I'm not going to spend time or your sleeping hours spending time being anxious about it. I will comfort you, and we will talk about the good things that we have and enjoy each moment. And if something ever were to come, deal with it then. You get grace for each moment of your life instead of all the things you want to be anxious for.
It's easy to do that because there's so many different possibilities of things that could potentially go wrong. Like I could be sitting here getting anxious about the software, like it's not going to work. But like even though that's happened, it's not worth me wasting my time thinking about. And on so many different levels of life, it's good to be prepared for things, but you shouldn't be worried about something that has a potential of happening. You should be ready to act when it actually happens. Right. Because you can spend all your time, all day, just getting anxious about the possibilities of life. And you can almost trap yourself in that mentality. And I'm sure a lot of people have, and it's not a good place to be. I mean, I've been there. I know you've been there in certain areas.
I mean, yeah, that's life, right? And mental toughness is such a big piece of it, and I think you kind of touched on it there. And we were talking before we went on there about Jocko, and he really talks about that a lot. You know, the mental preparation that goes into it and the affirmations, you know, and kudos to you for being so supportive and holding it down through those times. And kudos to you, Rich, for being out there chasing the passion, you know, it's difficult. A lot of, you know, married couples and families can't really live that lifestyle, I feel like. You know, it really takes a true team and a true dynamic that can work together on that. So I have a lot of admiration and respect for that, for what you guys, you know, have accomplished.
Well, thanks for that. But those who are in it every day still, I have so much respect for.
Oh, absolutely.
It's been a really rough few years for them, so really respect that.
You bet.
Yeah, going on what you said about the anxiety, it's kind of funny, even as a firefighter, I would see horrible ways or horrible things that happen to people or horrible ways that people can get hurt badly, die. And so imagine having kids. I'm watching my kids like climb trees.
Oh my gosh.
Jump on trampolines or things like that. And I'd be like, don't do that. And in many ways, I would see it all the time. So to me, it was very real, you know, but the chances or like the probability of something like horrific happening in so many of these situations was so low, you know. To me, it was very real because I sell it all the time. But I had to learn to let go of that, you know, just like they need to be kids. Can they get hurt with what they're doing? Of course.
Well, at least they're limber.
Yeah, at least they're limber. Their bones are a little bit more flexible. They bounce a little bit.
Yeah.
But that, you know, also going on the point too is I used to get so upset when I came home. In fact, I remember very specifically, you know, we had this Bible study thing. We'd have people come over to our house and we would do that. And there comes a point in every Bible study where people go around with prayer request. And these prayer requests were like, oh, my kids aren't sleeping well at night, or this isn't, and they were like these such minute things. And I'm like, I just held somebody who was having their worst day ever for anybody, yesterday. And it was hard. But then, going on probably, things that I think Jocko talks about too is like resiliency, or instead of post-traumatic stress, how can you shift that to post-traumatic growth? And so I had to kind of shift my thinking to like, okay, I can get upset that people have these like, to me, like you're taking stuff to the big man, dumb request, or
you should be grateful. That's your problem.
That's right. Can I be like, you know what? I am happy that is what you have on your mind right now is the worst thing going on in our life.
Yeah, it really comes back to that mental toughness piece and just kind of the perspective of it, right? Yeah. Like Jocko says, going through this, good. Being challenged here, good. Things didn't go well at work today, good. I love that. That resonated well with me.
Well, because every time it was not good is an opportunity for you to be better.
Yep.
Or have more gratefulness for when it is really good.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that analogy with a tree, right? Like,
a tree will not grow roots if there's no wind.
So the first
tree
storm,
placed in a bubble.
I haven't either.
A tree placed in a bubble and planted there will not root.
Without wind.
Really?
And so the wind actually forces the tree to push its roots down.
Because it needs to brace itself.
It needs to brace itself. So those roots go down deeper and deeper and deeper with higher levels of wind.
Yeah, like and sorry if I cut you short there,
No,
but I'm getting excited because this is barking up my tree as far as going through a hard time to learn the tough lessons that you're under pressure and it builds you into a diamond. Like you're underneath all the pressure.
That's right.
Just so y'all know, the listeners already know, but since we're opening up talking about some important things here, I had a major opiate addiction for a good 12 years. I was on it, and then once I admitted that I had that issue, it took me 5 years to get off. So that was like 17 years of my life. Wow. And that 5 years trying to get off of it fucking sucked. Like I was disappointing myself. I was lying to people I cared about. And through that though, and that was a self-caused problem. Like something didn't happen to me. Like I created that myself. So I do want to acknowledge that. Like that was my own fault. Like I didn't have something bad happen to me. I did it to myself. But still going through that has given me this different lens of looking at life through. And I could look at it two different ways. Like I could be all frustrated. Oh, I wasted 10 years. Oh, I wasted, over 50 grand on drugs, or, I ruined my credit score. Like I could be pissed off all day about it. But what's that actually going to accomplish in the long run? So it's like you have to be willing to accept your faults, but then be proactive about where you're going to take it. Because you could continue to react from the past, but that's not going to bring you anywhere. And so it's a healthy mindset. I know both of you have that mindset just based on talking to you, but it's just powerful, right? Like we all need to go through some hard times, and hopefully it's not life-threatening hard times, but we all need to be challenged in life and have to go through a struggle to learn our own strength. Like I like to say things like, how do you know that you are actually brave until you're scared? Like you have to get scared first. Like you have to feel fear to actually feel brave and courageous. I love all that stuff. Like I'll go off on that for 30 minutes if I.
Well, the cool thing is, I mean, and congratulations getting off the opiate addiction.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know that's not easy. In fact, one of my friends from the Marine Corps got opiate addiction as well, and then started just getting deeper in heroin, and then one day he died from it, and it's just super sad. And that
I'm fortunate to be here.
You're fortunate, and congratulations, like overcoming that. But who better to help somebody going through that than you, right? Or anything in life. The people who have gone through addiction, the people who have gone through anything, losing a child, a best friend, a firefighter, whatever, is somebody who's been through it themselves. And who do you want to listen to? Who does that person want to listen to? If I've never, I've fortunate I've never gotten into drugs, anything, so I'm probably not the best person, right, to talk to somebody about that. But it's just cool, every experience. I think what I was thinking about saying is like there's no experience wasted, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That's
as long
exactly
as
what I
long
was
as you're
about to say.
willing to
Yeah.
like look at it that way, though.
Yeah.
Because everybody has the ability to tap into that thought process, but I feel like it's a road less traveled with the majority.
That's true.
Yeah.
The easiest thing to do is complain, right? And
Yeah.
it's easy to get complacent. It's easy to focus on the negatives. We've all been there. I've certainly been guilty of that. You know, I've overcome a lot of anger issues and some addictions of my own throughout the years, and it's a constant therapy session to sit down every week and kind of talk about it a little bit. And I think it's a good thing to do. I think it's something that we've lost a little bit in modern society, is being able to sit down across the table, put the phones down, get to know people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it carries weight.
Yeah, and be really vulnerable.
Yeah.
People are not vulnerable.
That's
You
true.
know, social media and even a lot of podcasts, a lot of all the things we love to watch. Frankly, the way we put out, you know, our building of custom homes, right? It's beautiful.
Yes.
Everything's beautiful. The result is beautiful. We try to be real. There's some hard days. We'll send someone home or whatever. But overall, look at how great this is, right?
Yeah.
Look at this is going swimmingly and we're moving along and the result is beautiful and the lighting has been perfectly curated and everything about it, where there's so much to learn in the process and we're not vulnerable with each other to say, hey, you know, we work with each other and we're husband and wife. It's fun some days.
That's a whole other podcast.
You know, so yeah, so I mean that's it. Overall it's great, but you know, we're husband and wife, we work together. So the reality, if you're vulnerable, is saying we truly very much get how hard marriage is.
Yeah.
And then you throw in working together.
And income and providing for your 4
It's a lot.
kids and all this
Yeah.
extra.
And just spend a lot
Yeah.
of time together. I mean, I spend so much time with this Yahoo over here, running this business together and doing
Yeah.
these shows. You know,
Yeah.
it feels like a marriage almost.
I'm sure,
I mean,
yeah.
just being around somebody so much, right? You start to get on each other's
Yeah.
skin a little bit. So I think that kind of tests the resiliency of the relationship and the character and the respect that you have for one another. And, you know, what's that saying? Difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations, right? Long, cold, hard road.
Yeah, so you just got to appreciate that. This is something we talk about often on here because we feel like that so many people who have a platform or are in that influencer space, as they call it, only talk about the good times and they're only showing their best life. Well, what if you could just take a moment and be more vulnerable and be like, you know, I had a really tough day today, and today is why my day was really tough. You know, if you have 10,000 people tuning in, even if you helped one person, just one person,
That's right.
Yeah.
it's bigger. It's bigger than us.
Yeah, it certainly
know?
is. Yeah, when you break it down like that. How did you guys meet? How did that all start? Because I mean, you mentioned 2 different backgrounds. You weren't, from military or first responder. You obviously come from military. How'd you guys meet?
Most unlikely person ever set us up. So we're set up. So if someone's trying to set you up, you might not want to say no.
Wait, you guys are set up?
yes.
Oh, you should meet so and so kind of deal.
Yeah, it was actually a good family friend of my family, and in his previous business had hired him, and he kept talking about me. Oh my gosh, Anna too. You should meet her. And he's fantastic, but very not like the two of us. Like he's just a different type of guy. Great friend, but like you probably aren't going to be the one like to
He
figure out who I
he's
should
kind of
marry.
a goofball, you
Yeah,
know.
he's fantastic.
Little bit,
We still talk
very
to
nice
him.
guy,
you know.
but
And
I was
so-
helping him I was helping him train for a triathlon. I know you don't see it right now, but
I feel like you're keeping it together, man. You're great.
no.
You just look
In
husky.
fact, it's funny. I got a picture from one of the SWAT guys because he saw me on a. He does real estate also, but he's still with Aurora SWAT. But I've put on like 25 pounds, since I've left. And he sent me this picture. He circled my face on our team picture. I can show it to you guys later. And it was like, what happened to you? But that's love. You expect that.
Your
from,
friends should give you a hard time, and same with
Yeah.
the loved ones should also give you a hard
Well,
time.
and that's how I know somebody's my true friend. If you're willing
Yeah.
to say, dude, you better get your ass back, in shape.
Yeah.
Because you look like shit. I'm like, you're my boy. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's
I
all
didn't
right.
mean to.
So
Go ahead.
so his business before I had alluded to it. So he had a whole personal training studio with trainers that worked for him, and it grew. And then he took on kind of some of those more challenging cases, people that need to rehab, had a lot of weight to lose, or
Yeah.
this friend in particular had cancer and then wanted to do a triathlon. And I was racing triathlons at the time. This is pre 4 children. I had a lot of time to be able to do that. And he decided that he wanted to do one of the races at a race I happened to be doing, and hired Rich and said, I'm going to do a triathlon. And he's like, wow, okay. And then the whole time getting him ready for this, he kept saying, and I've got this friend named Anna, you should meet her. And likewise kept telling me, hey, you should meet Rich. He's fantastic. And I'm like,
Who is this Cupid? What's their name?
His name's Steve.
Steve.
Thank you,
Steve.
Steve. We
Solid
love
lad.
you. Yeah.
Solid lad, Steve.
Yes.
Solid
Yes.
lad, Steve.
So Steve, he is great. He's still family friend. I actually think he's on my family text thread.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Like Rich, Anna,
they're all
mom,
pretty
dad,
tight.
brother, sister, Steve.
Awesome.
That's how close he is, right? So he decided, and I, at the same time, by the way, was kind of getting to know this guy from college,
Not Steve.
and not Steve. Shall remain nameless because,
Yes.
you know.
Fair enough.
It's actually a funny
And so, but that guy lived in Santa Barbara, and so and this race was kind of in between Santa Barbara and where we lived at the time, and you had to travel to it and camp for the weekend because it's
Okay.
a open water lake swim, and everybody goes down, they camp for the weekend. So I'm like, whatever, Steve. Other guy's gonna come support me. This is not the weekend for me to meet him. This, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but he, loves his people. He being Rich, for those who are just listening right now. Rich loves his people. So he had really worked hard with Steve to get him ready.
Steve
and
lost
said,
55
he lost
pounds.
55
Yeah.
pounds,
And
and
a
he's
really
doing
cool
this thing.
transformation.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, he crushed it. He
Yeah.
really did.
So
awesome.
for him to
Good
do
for him.
this whole triathlon was a big deal. So Rich came down to support him, and it was funny because I'm brushing it off, months brushing it off,
Okay.
and then we all decided to meet at my house, and so you camp for the weekend, and I had showered after work, blew dry my hair because I'm like not getting a shower till Sunday.
Yeah.
But he pulls up into the driveway, and I'm like,
You're
this
like,
is gonna
Rich.
be Hey,
Who
hey
is
there.
Rich?
And I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
Rich is
I was
here.
like, how you doing?
Yeah.
Like, Steve wanted to set me up with you?
Yeah. Oh, this
Okay.
is. Oh,
Whoa,
okay.
now.
Oh,
Well,
now
here we go, Steve.
this might be an interesting weekend, is what I'm thinking, because this other guy's come in and
gosh.
he's cute, and yeah. So we go down. Sure enough, there was quite a bit of flirting, and then the other guy showed up
Mild
the next
flirting, though,
day.
I'm sure.
Mild, yeah.
Mild.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Being a gentleman.
Yeah,
Very,
total gentleman.
very
Yes.
gentlemanly,
Yes,
but
always.
it's funny because he didn't know this other guy was coming. My race
Okay.
was on Sunday. Steve's race
Who
was
had a
on
mad
Saturday.
crush on her.
Yes.
Yeah, so he didn't come though till Saturday afternoon
Interesting.
because my race was Sunday instead
Uh-huh.
of Saturday, and so and Rich was going to go home that afternoon.
After Steve
he
raced.
canceled that plan. He decided to stay
Uh-huh.
for the rest.
Which
of
I
the
never,
weekend.
if you know me, like I never canceled
He never
an
he had-
appointment ever.
He canceled on
I never
a
missed a
client.
day of work. Like,
Wow.
so I canceled on,
Your intuition was telling you something.
yeah, I was like, maybe we need to stay and play this out a little
But
bit.
it's funny, I now know who that client was, who's actually also very good friends with us. And I would say got married at the time we did because of his mother. So it all comes around. Everyone's involved here. But so, yeah, the other guy shows up, and it's just not the same. Kind of
Well, the other guy
fizzly
shows
over
up-
there, and still I'm like, oh, this is no good. So, I race, and then we get back to my house, and Steve had ridden in Rich's car because Rich was going to come back on Saturday night, and I went with my brother, but we all came to my house, and then all of a sudden Steve's stuff was in my brother's car, and they're like, bye, and we're left standing alone in my driveway.
Oh, that was a really good move on Steve. He's like, I could see this is happening.
Yeah.
I'm
He's like,
going to
I'm out.
remove myself from this
Goodbye,
situation.
you're not driving me
Good luck.
home.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
So the first thing Rich said after that was, well, it's very clear they'd like us to go out, but would you like to go out?
Ooh.
So we
Silver
went on.
tongue.
I
Just
said,
have to work
well,
What a solid lad.
yeah, I know, right? Take some
Well-
notes, guys.
Yes.
Well,
That's an
working-
alpha male move right there, Rich.
I tried to work the angle before that because when this guy came to support Anna, I pretty much left her alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
so
the right
then I
thing to
had
do.
He
Yes.
helped the friends.
I had a
got
tactic.
in good with the friends.
I
at
helped
that
all of
point.
her friends,
Yeah.
like with their bikes, carrying stuff for them, being that dude. And I even had to help the guy who came to support you. set up his own tent.
That
Oh,
was,
no way. He
Yeah,
couldn't
he
even
couldn't set up
his
his
own tent.
tent.
Oh.
I was like,
That was
Oh.
like,
I've got you.
Yeah,
We've got
yeah.
this.
Oh.
Not
I'll
a
help
good
you.
thing, Yeah.
And then I'm going to help all of Anna's friends. So the goal was that her friends would be like, "Oh, Rich is so nice." He's so
They
sweet,"
were
you know.
sold. Yeah.
So if
None of them
because you know how it
complained,
is.
yeah.
I mean, for the
You gotta
audience out
you gotta
there,
get in with the friends.
Yeah.
gotta get in with the
Because
friends.
they're gonna be talking later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and then hopefully they're saying nice
Yeah.
things about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and judging by your character, you weren't like, "What do you mean you know how to do this? I'm just going to help you do
Yeah.
it."
No,
Yeah.
he's
That
like,
was
hey,
it.
man, I'll help. No
Yeah.
big deal. I'm like, oh, my God.
Well, and it was genuine too. Like I wanted to help him with his tent, but like internally, I was like, "Come on, dude."
You should know how to do this.
You know, and
Right.
if you know you're going to come to a triathlon to support somebody
He
and
brought
be on a
the
camp,
tent.
like for
It's
me,
his
I
own
would have
tent.
done like tent, like setting up drills.
I would have done it in my backyard or like a
Exactly.
park if I didn't have a backyard.
You know,
like,
like, I'm gonna
practice
do
at
this-
least
Yes.
a couple times.
10
Yeah.
times. Okay, I got it under 2 minutes.
I got
Yeah.
this.
She's going to be way
Yeah.
impressed.
Yeah, so I was actually going on a trip to Europe for 3 weeks the next week. So I said, sure, we can go out, but it needs to be in the next 4 days or 5 days, something like that, or in a month, basically. He said, how about Tuesday?
Oh,
And
man.
canceled his appointment with Steve for Tuesday. So 2 cancellations in 1 week, which this guy does not cancel at all. And we went out, and kind of the rest is history. We went out again on Thursday. And it was funny, though, because before the first date, the official first date
Yeah.
on Tuesday, I called my sister, and I'm like, I don't know what to wear. And my sister said, Anna, you just spent a weekend with this dude. As dirty as you possibly ever get, probably, because you're just sweaty and gross and lake water and dirt everywhere.
Which a
And
lot of dudes
he
think that.
still asked you out,
Right, yes,
right?
true,
He
true,
still
yeah.
asked you out. So it can only go up from there.
Yes.
You can wear whatever you want and no makeup. And he won't care, clearly. Just take a shower,
Yes.
be clean, and that's a plus. So, yeah.
There you go.
That's such a fun
What-
story.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, guys. That was fun to kind of
Kinda
dive into that.
unique.
I was picturing it was almost like a movie, playing out.
Yeah. I
Yeah, and
guess
then
so.
you threw in some pieces there that I wasn't expecting. And I'm
know.
like, wait, how did that happen?
Well, it is
twist.
funny too, because when I finished my race, he was at the finish line right there to give me the high five, and the race photographer, they're always there,
They got it.
and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, hey, let's get that picture,"
thought we
and
were a
I'm
couple.
like, I don't
Another
know. I
strategic
don't
move.
know
I'm like-
him, but I'm not just gonna walk off. And he's, so we're both kind of like this, and the other guy is photobombing in this picture
Oh.
up behind.
He's like, wait, what about me?
it's hilarious. He's
What
like,
about
no,
me?
I'm supposed to be there.
Oh, no.
If he's listening, to be fair, he was a very nice
He's
guy.
fantastic.
Yeah.
If
He's
he's
a great guy.
listening or ever hears this, I'm gonna,
I know.
he's a
No,
nice guy.
very.
I feel
Yes,
bad.
very. No, he's not.
He's probably
Not in
done
that
well.
way.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yes, he has.
We all
he has
learn.
done very well. So
from critical mistakes.
How do you
and,
know he's done very well?
Don't
there's
you
this
do that now.
amazing app, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say a certain brand, but everybody can follow each other on it. So
wow.
you know,
Is that like Facebook or Instagram?
yeah,
or something?
something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I've heard
right.
of it.
Yeah, you've heard
Yeah.
of that one. All right.
Well,
so
you two are a beautiful couple, and I
love the energy.
I feel like you match each other's energy. That's exactly
Yep.
what I was gonna say. Like it's, and it's rare to find that, right? Because I'm kind of like a hopeless romantic guy, sure, and I look around from time to time, and I just haven't met my equal yet, right? And so it's funny how it plays out, right? Because neither of you were expecting that
No.
weekend,
Not at all.
and then it all just kind of worked.
yeah. Now we've got 4 kids and a
Yeah.
business together, and yeah, it's
Well,
crazy.
well, stay-
Life is crazy.
Stay true. I was actually very much like you,
Okay.
Like, that's why I didn't want Steve to hook me up. I wasn't interested. It's probably why I worked myself to death all the time. I just didn't care. I was that guy like going out with people on like Match.com back then, but nothing like, I wasn't feeling the vibe, but but when I met Anna, it was like, okay, this is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, what it sounds like is you were following your mission, drive, purpose, right? And that's the beautiful thing. That's what I think for me personally, what I've learned. I just came out of a long-term relationship, and I'm single again. Tough deal.
Yeah.
But refocusing on the mission, drive, and purpose, I think, is what I've seen from the most success stories, like what I just heard, is when you really find the one.
So true.
And you never know when that's going to be.
Yeah.
You might not be prepared for it. people might be looking for it, but I think sometimes it just kind of fall into your lap a little bit.
Yeah. One time, a long time ago, we were already dating, maybe even married, I don't know. And our pastor actually did a sermon on relationships. Can't remember if it's a sermon series.
It's
a sermon just at church
I
on
see.
relationships. And out of that, I remember he said in there, God does have a purpose for everybody and has made you in a certain way. And you need to pursue that first.
Yes.
Pursue who you are and run full steam towards it, right?
Yes.
Just go for that and who you are and who you've made to be. And then look around you. And if there's someone running in the same direction as you that has the same type of passion and purpose, it might not be the same goal, but same type of passion and purpose, and they're running kind of at the same speed as you and doing the same types of things as you, they might be for you. But if you're looking around and you're like, I run in this direction and I live my life this way, but that person's cute, and they don't live their life at all like you live your life.
Yeah.
Probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
And
Great advice.
I looked next to me at church and I thought, well, good thing he runs the same direction.
That's so true. That's so
You know,
true.
it's in so many ways. And actually that pastor did do, to the point of kind of us as a couple. It's funny, he did our premarital counseling, right? Go in and take some questionnaires, personality, just trying to figure out, right, is there stuff that you should know about each other that in this romance period of dating you've kind of overlooked. And he actually said to us at that point, he's like, I've actually never seen two people as compatible as you two are.
And you're like, get out. You're like,
And
get
I'm
out
like,
of here.
oh
You're
my
just
gosh,
saying
there's
that.
got to be
I
something.
said that to
Fooled
everyone.
everybody.
Yeah. But at the same time, even at that, marriage and life is hard.
It is.
Right? And so you still have to stay with each other, right?
Yeah.
And keep running the same direction, checking in, seeing if you're meeting each other's needs well, because life does change. And for us with 4 kids, life gets really busy. It's hard to pay attention to each other and keep that going in the midst of everything else you're doing. So, I think we started with a good foundation and a fun story, but, every day, the reality, if we're vulnerable, the reality is it's not easy every day.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
You still got to get out and put your work boots on, whether that's going to work, working on the marriage, whatever, working on the family.
Working on the business.
Working on the business. There's work to be had, right?
Yep.
I think that's where I get a little intimidated, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, about long-term relationships and commitment. I think I might struggle with that a little bit. After coming out of a relationship that I thought maybe could have gone the long haul, it's like kind of hitting that reset button and going, am I made for this? I think everybody's entitled to their own happiness and success, of course, but not everybody has to walk the same path, right? So that's kind of where I'm at currently, is looking forward, but refocused on the mission, drive, purpose, focused on the business and stuff like that. And I'm not really prioritizing, a relationship right now. And I'm in my mid-30s. I think that's okay.
Absolutely.
I'm living the good time. Having a great time chatting with you guys, and I think that's just where I need to be right now. And just kind of ride the wave.
Yeah. We have plenty of friends who've gotten married around 40. We got married, I was 30 at the time. So I think, honestly, our culture does, even though everybody's moving past and getting a little bit older when they get married, there's still this mindset of what's wrong with me if it's not early, right?
Yeah.
If it's not, I've gone to college, done the college thing, and then you find somebody and it's in your 20s and you're getting married. But I actually think it's really beautiful for people who have a passion and a purpose and goals to have the time to do it on their own, because it's hard when you have someone else you're bringing along in that, right? You have the time to really make an impact now on your own. And if someone is running the same direction as you eventually and you find that person, fantastic. They'll come in, but you've met a lot of goals that maybe you wouldn't have if you had met someone in your 20s.
True.
So it's just a path you're supposed to follow.
It's so true.
Great advice. Thanks
I didn't know we were going to get into some epic
No,
relationship.
I have a relationship
You never know what's gonna
podcast
happen
here.
on this
I
show.
mean,
No,
seriously.
This is juicy stuff. I mean,
This is great.
it's so good, and just because we always want to make sure that we give enough space at the end of the show to kind of talk about your advice for humanity. So I want to ask this question to both of you, and you can pick who goes first. But we always like to ask our guests if you had one piece of advice for humanity so everyone could be better tomorrow, what would that piece of advice be?
Wow, that's like getting deep. That's like I need to come up with something really good for that one.
You know, in the deep questions, I always look to Anna because, as you can see already, she's more articulate on that and more insightful.
I don't know. You're insightful too. I think for me, I think a lot of it would be to really know yourself and pursue who you were made to be. And that whatever that goal or dream might be can shift and change over the years. Like we've had some varied career paths right through our lives, and every single part of it though is using part of who we are. And I think if you really just focus on that and have a goal, right, where you have something you're pursuing, you're not just floating along in life, you will succeed. And success doesn't necessarily mean money. It might be impact to other people. It might be that, to your point of being vulnerable, you might help one person. But being willing to be vulnerable to do that is really important. I think setting your priorities, right, of what you want to focus on.
I think this lines up perfectly, too, with, being the first episode of the new year. A lot of people are making their New Year's resolutions. Maybe you're on the fence about your New Year's resolution this year. Take Anna's advice, because it's so true. Like, really figure out, like, what makes you tick and what makes you happy, and then get on that course and do it without asking permission from anyone. And if people aren't going to follow you on that path, then they're not meant to be on that path. Yeah, and you just need to keep going.
Yeah, I'm actually currently reading Julia Gentry's book, Dare to Dream. And it's really interesting in that she's encouraging everybody to know what your dream is, right? And that it's not going to feel comfortable, and it shouldn't feel comfortable. But it's specific to who you are and who you were made to be. But one part that I just recently read that I thought was impactful and what people don't think about, and maybe it's more our culture, but is the fact that getting to a dream isn't like the instant
it doesn't happen
thing.
Overnight.
It doesn't happen overnight, and nor should we think it. So she used the analogy of Mount Everest in the book, and how climbers on Mount Everest must stop at 4 different camps in order to acclimate and to let go of things that they were carrying, because they cannot carry them forward. They might not be useful for them forward, or just the weight. They're not going to make it to, 29,000 feet up there if they're carrying it. So she made very good point of you have to give yourself time, where if you have a dream, you feel like it's all cylinders ahead, you're going, and then you've got this slow down pullback, you might just be at a base camp. You might just be at one of those acclimation points where you need to stop, allow yourself to acclimate to where you've gotten, and really be grateful for it, and then think about, are there things from this period that I need to let go of in order to move forward, and what do I need to do to prepare? So those climbers go up and back for a couple days in order to get a little further, little back, little further, little back. And it's okay. And they know that if they race forward and don't spend the time at each of those camps along the way, they will not be one to summit. Yeah. And so getting to the summit takes time and takes patience. Yeah. And allowing yourself that is really important.
Taking those calculated moves, 2 steps forward, 1 back, like you said. Great advice. Definitely a great perspective. Sounds like a great read.
It is, yeah. I'd recommend it.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah. Rich, what do you think?
I think it's just, I was just telling one of my kids the other day, she can get so discouraged about what other people think, and sometimes it like paralyzes her. It's like, why do you care so much about what people are thinking about you? I think, for looking at your goals and success, like for me, the path is going to be challenging. I have to remind myself, like, why am I doing it? A lot of people are going to tell me, what you plan on doing is impossible. You can't do it, it's going to be too challenging. It's going to take too much time. You didn't start this when you were 30, whatever. Okay, that's their opinion. It's not my life, But, and it could be challenging, but one thing that I think is important too is to remember why you're doing it and look at the things in your life that you should be, grateful for, and have like a positive mindset. Because if you start the day and say, gosh, I am a lucky man, I am blessed, I've got a beautiful wife, my kids are great, everybody's healthy, this day is going to be awesome, and you set that mindset of like, I'm going to crush today, then chances are you're already off on the right foot, and you're going to be taking steps that are going to make that day that much better and more productive. But I had a business mentor once also tell me, like, inevitably we're going to have some crappy days.
Yes.
They're going to suck, right? And again, it goes back to, we can't appreciate the good days until we've had some of those suck days. But what he said, because of my last business, I used to see all these obstacles, and I used to get like so frustrated, like, but this thing and that thing. And he was like, Rich, if all you ever see is obstacles, all you're going to run into is obstacles. So the biggest thing I try to focus on now is have a clear laser focus on where I want to go. That plan may change a little bit, but if you do that and you keep your sights on that, in the military, in the Marine Corps, they say like clear front sight tip, So I'll tell myself that sometimes, like, clear front sight tip, like on your rifle, to your goal. And when you just have that clear vision of what you want to do, then you just naturally seem to hurdle over those obstacles.
And sometimes it's not so much you have a really clear vision, because I think sometimes people get really hung up on, I need to have this grand picture. I need to know what the end result is that I'm going for, or I can't start at all. And sometimes that end result isn't something you know yet, right?
It's so true.
And you just need to know, okay, these are my passions, these are my opportunities, and I'm going to take the opportunities that seem to be in the direction of where my passions lie. And over time, that vision for clarity will come to you. But I don't think, sometimes I think people really get hung up on, I just don't know where I'm going, so I can't do anything at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard spot. It's a very hard spot to be in. So you just have to find your passions and go after them every day, and know it's okay if they shift, right? And if there's something that moves you, if that road moves, if the path moves a little bit, that's fine. You're going to get that vision eventually, and you'll know where you're headed. It might be about your kids, it might be about your business, it might be about a ministry or some mission-focused thing that you want to impact people with. Who knows where it leads? Like, you guys did other things, started this thing in your garage, and then all of a sudden you're coming up on 200 episodes, and people are actually listening to me talk. I don't need, who am I? But you guys have built something because it's a passion. It's a passion for people and conversation and something real.
Yep. And everybody's a star, and those are great perspectives that you guys offered for sure, and great advice. And one of the quotes that I say all the time, Art, I gotta piggyback off this one more time, is typically, a lot of folks do more to avoid pain than they will to gain pleasure, right? And that goes back to the complacent mindset that we touched on a little bit, and kind of something that you talked about a little bit. Sometimes when it gets hard, people want to go, well, I'm going to quit. No. When it gets hard, that's how you know you're doing the right thing, like we talked about on KOA last week. And it's not easy. It's cliche to say, hey, just go do it, right? Like you say, you got to be razor focused. When your feet hit the floor out of the bed in the morning, today's going to be a good day. I'm blessed for what I have. And it's a good affirmation and a good reminder for not only myself but our listeners to just think about those things, because we get caught up. We get caught up in life with social media and having to run around and raise kids. I mean, I don't have kids. I don't know what that looks like. I'm sure it adds another level of burden and stress to life that I can't speak to. But the mindset remains the same, right? And the end goal is in sight. And I think it's just good to kind of, reflect and focus on that. You guys shared some good insight on that, and, it's been a good show, but we definitely want to talk about your business before we get you guys out of here, because you guys are doing some amazing things. And
we do something completely different now.
It's kind of cool with the business, though, because there are a lot of parallels to our business and life. The good thing about our business is we build beautiful custom homes. But like in a custom home, we go through architect, we go through a bunch of planning, and we know what the end goal is going to be. It's going to be this amazing home. And But to get there, we're in the dirt. We're working on a foundation. We have to work on these things that are going to provide structural integrity. And a lot of times in that process, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
You know, we're excavating. You know, we're dealing with the soil.
There's this random 1,000-pound stone that's in the way.
Yeah. There's and stone. That's a good analogy too. There's this opposite, this stone in the way. But just kind of going back on life, you know, a lot of times in our life, you know, we're in the dirt. You know, but we don't know. Like, in construction, is great because we know what we're going to build. But I think that's the beauty of life sometimes, though, is you can be in the dirt. You know, you can be, you know, down in the mud. You may feel like getting out of that hole, you know, is impossible. But there is a bigger purpose, right, for our lives and a plan. And I think we just need to understand that end goal, if we keep marching forward, is going to be a beautiful thing, much like that custom home that we're building.
Yeah, it's a lot harder in life
So-
when you don't have the plan in front of you, right?
Yeah.
In construction, we know why that board gets cut down and part of it gets thrown away, right? And we know why, you know, certain stones don't fit when we're putting stone on the outside, and watching those stone masons put together the stone on the outside of a home is amazing, because you can tell they see the picture in their head. They work really fast, and they're shaving those things down and they're putting them on there, and all of a sudden you have this amazing stone side of a house, because the stonemason knew what his or her goal was at the end of it. And it's hard for us in life, because as we're all going through the dirt, we're coming out of opiate addiction, we're going through a tough breakup, right? We're restarting something. You don't know where the beauty is going to be, right? You don't know that end goal, and that's difficult.
So I actually found where the beauty is, and I feel like it's there for everyone, and it's within the process. It's within the current when you're in the dirt, and you realize you're in the dirt. It's living in the moment and truly enjoying the now, because the past is always something that we can reflect on to become better for our future. And the future is something that we always look forward to keep us motivated. But the present is often looked. And that's one of the areas in life that I've found some of my most joyous moments was in the present.
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, and it's true, because you can't control the future.
Yeah.
And you can't really do anything about the past.
Yeah.
And so living in either of those two spaces is a waste of your time.
It is.
And so today, and what you have today and how you can take advantage of it, is truly the most important thing. So here we are back to waxing eloquent on something other than our business.
So if you are looking to build a home in Denver, there's a lot of options, sure. But read Custom Homes. These people right here, I mean, I'm feeling a little bit emotional after this episode, because the advice you gave to Humanity, both those hit me in a special feel area. But if you're looking to build a home, then build a home with a family that has the right values, has the history, and ultimately is going to care about the finished product. So that's one of the most important things I feel like people are looking for. Like, can I actually trust these people to help build my forever home? And just spending an hour across the table from y'all, I mean, if I ever hear anyone like I'm into building a custom home, I know who I'm going to refer them to. Yeah. So it's more than just a business. It's about why the business exists and what the morality of the business is. And I'm picking up on that immediately. It's
honestly,
amazing.
what you just said is exactly why we actually do client work at all. So before we built custom homes, for customers, we did our own investment work. It was, you know, his side gig from fire and the SWAT stuff, my side gig as well, and it was just something we did for us. And but people started seeing what we were doing and what we were producing, and the fact that we actually cared about what no one saw. And so behind the walls, once the drywall's up, nobody knows. Nobody knows what's behind there and how well it's done. And people were seeing the end, not only a pretty end result, which you can tell the attention to detail was there, but also what was behind the walls. And they started asking, would you please do this for us? Would you? Okay, so kind of reluctantly, we started doing things
pulled you into
for people
from church, people from the police officers,
Yeah.
firefighters.
Can't
we
find
don't trust
anyone.
anybody but you. You know?
And
Yeah.
just, that was the thing. We heard horror stories about what could happen and what does happen. Unfortunately, our industry is not the most positive all the time from a reputation perspective. And so we basically decided to step in. That kept growing and growing, and he had to make you can tell he still has a passion for police and fire and everything
You
they
got the
do,
blue
right?
stripe on the polo right there.
That's
a nice
I
touch.
know when I saw that, I was like,
Exactly.
oh, that's kind of cool.
That's a really
Exactly.
nice
That
touch
is.
right there.
Yeah. So,
Blue lives
he's
matter.
still definitely has a passion for that, but made a very difficult choice to step over into doing this full time because there's a void for exactly how you described what we do. We
Yeah.
care about the details. We care about doing things with integrity. And it's fun. It
Yeah.
really is fun to work with people and say, who are you? So we do this a little bit across the table while we're planning, a little what we did.
Yeah.
And just now planning someone's home. Who are you? Who do you how do you live in your home? What do you need in your home to make it your home and not Rich and Anna's home?
Yeah.
What do you need? A golf simulator for one person, a piano room. She's a piano teacher by night and an accountant by day. And so we have a side room in her house that her grand piano sits in, and she does her recitals in the home. So it was designed so that space sits up above the great room with big barn doors that slide back so that when her students are playing in a recital, they're on a stage.
Oh, that's so cool.
Things like that that
actually.
we really get to think about for our clients, and then we get to know them because home is where you make most of your memories. Vacations are fantastic, but the reality is it's the here and now.
Yes.
And what do you do and where are you doing that? You're doing that at your home for the most part. So we don't build houses, we build homes is what we always say. And it's truly an honor.
How
to
many
work.
how many homes have you built so far?
Oh gosh.
Our target right now is we'd like to keep that intimate feel, for our customers. So right now we build about 10 a year. And just that way, because then once you do more than that, it's hard to keep it.
Yeah.
So
And the
personal.
volume also depends on the size of the home. So if we have a few large ones, we're not going to do as many
That makes
of
sense.
them so that we can really focus. We have a project manager and some people that work with us, but Rich and I are at every house every day. And so
Well, it's fun to see it all come together
Yeah.
too. Like I've been on
Yeah.
so many job sites and done all that, and like there's a certain satisfaction you get when that piece of like even just when the foundation is laid, you're like, wow, that's a good looking foundation.
Yeah, it's
You know,
really fun.
just every step.
And we nerd out about every step.
He
Like
nerds out. I'm not a nerd.
I have well, so it's like it's a process, right? It's the attention to detail, and like I love that part of it, and the team part of it, getting the right people there at the right time. And we tell our team, it's like if you're not going to do your best work every day to the highest quality and be passionate about it, you don't belong on our team. If there's ever an integrity issue, you don't belong on our team, for sure. And then what I like to do is every step, Anna does a follow the build, type series, and then and I get my drone in the air, and I like to show, and I can show you these pictures, show the foundation and show the framing and show all these different stages of construction. And I actually joke to our customers sometimes that I would love to have like a plexiglass wall, because like Anna mentioned,
instead of drywall.
put
plexi-
because
Okay.
like nobody ever sees inside the walls, but I'm actually very proud of what's inside the walls. I've got perfectly run plumbing. I've got very
Okay.
meticulously run electrical. It
looks
our
good.
HVAC
It looks
is
good.
meticulously done, and it looks great. And I like to walk it and like, maybe we're perfectionists, which I think people should want, like in their home.
Yeah, stop half-assing things.
Don't half-ass.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
anytime I've cut a corner in life, I had to double back and do
Yeah.
that turn again every single
time.
time. Every single time.
People do say in our industry, it's like no one has enough time to do it right, but they have all the time in the world to make it right.
Come back and
It's like you got to come back and fix it.
Yeah, just
It's
do it
going
right
to
the
take
first
you
time.
a whole lot longer,
Yeah.
even though you say, I don't have enough time to get it right the first time. And that's not how we operate.
That's a
we have
horrible
kind of a
mentality.
military
Yeah.
mindset even to building, and the fact that we recognize we're not perfect. We have our strengths, we have weaknesses, but at the end of every build, our team will get back together and we'll talk to our subs and we'll say what went extremely well on that job and what do we need to improve. It's just a debrief, and we'll find these areas that we need to improve and we'll improve on them. But then also, like, we recognize that we don't know everything, so people like to feel empowered too. There's a lot of contractors out there that say, this is what I want done, this is how I want it done, and don't give me your opinion or advice, and just do it. And we allow our subs to talk to us because, like, a foundation guy has done 1,000 more foundations than I have.
Yeah.
My framer has framed 1,000 more homes than I've ever been part of.
Our plumber goes to plumbing conferences.
Then he goes
Yeah.
to conventions.
I'm not going to plumbing conferences.
And he'll come to me and be like, Rich, look at this new tool I have. And I'm like, you know what? I'm glad you geek out about that. You're the man for my team.
Uh-huh.
But when you allow people to have input, to you on the process, it makes it that much better. And there are so many people in this industry that have, egos, and they're afraid to take any type of criticism.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, this industry has people like that everywhere. But we sit down and when we allow everybody to collaborate, we can ultimately get a better product at the end. Yeah. It's cool. And so hopefully every job just continues to get better. So
you guys have the right approach. You got that team mentality, number one. And it's quality over quantity. I like that because it's not about how many homes we can crank out. Reed Custom Homes. You specialize in relationships, getting to know the people, right? Building their dream home, so to speak. And so the quality piece I think speaks volume rather than just cranking out. Hey, how many homes can we mash out throughout the year? So I think that piece alone speaks volume to what you guys do.
Yeah. Well, and it's also we love to build homes. I mean, we love to see the finished product. We love to watch our customers walk through the front door.
Yeah, that's amazing.
All that is amazing. And they walk through and they're just in awe, of everything. And I can think of like everything that went into that. But it's not just the building a home. It's also about building homes is also like kind of a way to, what's the word? Like, how do you make an impact? It's cool to do cool things and we're passionate about, but why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We love to build homes, but, what's fun is, like, through building homes, like, the impact that we can have in other areas, too.
Mm-hmm.
We're providing jobs for people, organizations that we choose to support, that type of thing. And so when we can finish a job and then we can see, like, in a different level, like, where it can impact somebody or – we hire a lot of police and firefighters too, who are looking for side gigs. Mm-hmm. To me, that's fun because it helps to stay engaged and is a way of also kind of helping them. We have opportunities to donate material to fire departments or for training purposes, and it's just fun. It's just fun to be in a position where we can do that.
That's great. Yeah, you guys are
Well,
doing great work.
I mean, such an honor to have the two of you here and sharing some time with us and all of our listeners and some intimate stories, right? Like life is a journey, and there's going to be some ups and downs on that journey. And all we can do is stay resilient, focus on our drive, and be okay digging in the mud a little bit. Because if you can't get beat up, then you'll never know how good it feels to be healthy, right? So I agree with all that. We're huge supporters of what you do. I mean, we were already going to support the hell out of it, but after sitting here talking with y'all, you're going to be in our network partnership group. So basically that means that we'll always support you if you ever need to reach out or you need a little extra push or vice versa. We might call on you sometime,
Absolutely.
And we're just honored to have shared this time with you right now.
Yeah, thanks for sharing the time, a little bit of your life, and opening up with perfect strangers over here, letting us know who you are. I really appreciate that.
I hardly feel like we're strangers.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like
I
we need a hug.
I shook your hands coming in. I'm going to hug you leaving.
Exactly.
This was a lot of fun, and we're going to have you back on the show. I mean, once we make
Awesome.
great friends like you guys, we would like to do, annual visits.
Sure.
Have you come back in, talk about what's going on. And before we, get out of here, at least on the mics, where can people go to get in touch? If people want to reach out, where can our Colorado viewers and listeners or anybody get in touch with you guys?
Sure. So we, as Rich said, we have several places. Our website, of course, so reedcustomhomes.com. It's got all our contact information, phone numbers, and all of that. Instagram, Facebook, reedcustomhomes.com. And then we do, as Rich talked about, have a YouTube called Follow the Build, where
Oh, that's
do
fun.
short little snippets of different parts of the build, trying to follow different houses along the way, and try to teach our viewers a little bit about what we're doing and why as well while we're out there. So those are different ways you can follow us, interact with us. Love to hear some comments from you on
Read
some
Custom
of our stuff.
Homes everywhere.
Read Custom Homes everywhere.
At Read Custom Homes, and
Check them
Yep.
out. Check
Yep.
them out.
Yep.
People doing the right things for the right reasons, even if it's the hard thing to do.
That's right.
And
That's a big
that's what it's
takeaway.
all about.
We'll definitely leave all those links in the show notes down below, guys. Be sure to scroll down below. We appreciate the continued support of this program, and I want to personally thank Rich and Anna for spending some time with us tonight. I know you guys are very busy, and you got a family at home, I'm sure, waiting, and thanks for having a couple beers and a water with us. Really appreciate it, and opening up.
No,
Thanks
thank
so
you.
much.
That was great. Yeah.
Well, everybody out there listening, it's the beginning of a new year. It could be the beginning of a new journey for you, but as you know, you should be challenged on this. If it's coming too easily, then you're not doing the right thing. You should have a little emotional distress. You should question if it's the right thing. You should wonder if you're capable of even doing what you're looking to accomplish. So do something that's difficult. Get comfortable getting uncomfortable. Let's bring in the new year strong. I'm going to go ahead and say I love the two of you guys. Like, I love y'all. And, Kev, you already know I love you. All the listeners, please be good to yourselves out there.
Yeah, much love to everybody. Thanks again, guys. Be good to yourselves. You know you deserve it, and we'll see you on Happy Friday tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you.